I love propaganda. I know how that sounds, but hear me out. Historical propaganda provides us a lens beyond just the empirical facts of history. It allows us to delve into the culture and psyche of the individuals who lived it. There's nothing quite like it in terms of having an interest in both art and history. So there's no surprise that there's an entire subreddit that's dedicated to it. So in honor of my love for historical propaganda, I took the top 25 all-time posts from the r/propaganda posters subreddit and put them into a tier list. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Propaganda Posters tier list. So right off the bat, I had to do some digging for this one. In the corner, you'll see that this was created by the Office of Price Administration. The OPA was created by FDR to assist in preventing inflation during World War II. They had some pretty wild powers. They could set certain price limits and ration supplies. This piece is clearly to promote the idea to the populace that rationing was a good and moral action that benefited society. I'll admit, it's cool to see government-issued market equity propaganda from the United States. But it's pretty bland. The artwork is stereotypical cartoon style of the era. It's not eye-catching, and it doesn't provoke much in terms of deep thought. I'm surprised this is number 1, even with the interesting history behind it. C tier. Stereotypical 1960s communist, anti-racism, pro-worker propaganda. Boring design. F tier. René Herman Paul was a well-known French illustrator from the 19th and 20th century. This is a very interesting piece depicting societal double standards. There's a striking beauty to the painting of the work, and it is mixed with interesting subject matter. The biggest knock is that it isn't intellectually stimulating, promoting a very stereotypical anti-imperialist view. Once you get past the initial thought of what is he trying to say here, it doesn't really leave you with much else to consider. It's still a really cool piece though. B tier. Now this piece is absolutely outstanding. It's eye-catching, provocative, and captures so much in so little. The fact that this is a foreign cartoon is even more incredible. It looks like an American political cartoon, but it's a peer into the psyche of those affected by the modern office of the United States presidency, and that the two sides are often viewed similarly, simply with different stripes. And Obama as a hippie imperialist is frigging hilarious. The only reason this doesn't get S tier is because it doesn't change minds or sway minds, and doesn't cause deep thought. It more so defines a way of thinking, but beautifully and in an interesting way. Solid A tier. It's a sign. I don't really care what's on it. It's a slogan on a sign. Trash. F tier. Now this is what I'm talking about. This poster is exactly what war propaganda is supposed to be. Nazis depicted as a massive, demonic being engulfing the world, and the onlooker is gripped by a brave lone pilot carrying a simple slogan: freedom. The dark shades of the Nazi demon versus the bright shades of the British fighter. It feels like the fate of the world is on the line. It's been 80 years, and this makes me want to hop into a damn fighter plane and single-handedly dogfight a Nazi demon. Perfect war propaganda. S tier. I won't lie, this piece falls into a bias for me. I love Soviet propaganda, especially ones that depict America as racist. The Soviets adopted and promoted a viciously racist and bigoted political ideology. But their primary ideological battle was against Western thought and capitalist economics. In order to pursue these ends, they turned the sins of their enemy against them. The most interesting part? This propaganda was mostly in-house. This was used primarily to keep the Soviet citizens in support of the repressive government by depicting the United States as a viciously racist place. And this piece does that perfectly. It starts by depicting the most recognizable symbol of America and Americanism, Lady Liberty, and proceeds to show her with a crown of Klan members, one of the most recognizable symbols of American racism. It intimately connects the two. Also, making Lady Liberty white only adds to the idea that America is a white supremacist nation, or at least such was being portrayed by the Soviets. It's utterly brilliant propaganda, both in purpose, execution, and in many ways, outcome. I think this even reflects the perspectives of the American left today, which is probably why it's a top post on Reddit. S tier. In the early 1940s, America first referred to a non-interventionist group that opposed US involvement in World War II. It was supported by Charles Lindbergh, Walt Disney, E.E. Cummings, Gore Vidal, Gerald Ford, yes, that Gerald Ford, and Frank Lloyd Wright. The America First movement was often criticized for its relationship to anti-Semitism, and this is a piece by Dr. Seuss, intended to depict that in an extreme fashion by saying they were one and the same with the Nazis. It's in classic Dr. Seuss fashion, with art style and creative term of Siamese beard. It's creative, it's bluntly Seussian, and I really like it. I had to do fair studying to even figure out what was trying to be said, which propaganda is supposed to do: teach ideas. A tier. It's the USA Communist Party playing on racial politics. Not to mention, it's barely propaganda. It's primarily a political ad. It's a lamer version of the Soviet stuff. Still, it was a good angle for the Communist Party. D tier. Holy sh**. This is nuts. I've never seen anything like this. To depict Hitler as a pig through a puzzle which was very likely to conceal its real message from average onlookers, so that it could spread. There's no author attached to it either, showing how serious it was for this to even be present in a German-occupied Holland. I can't even believe this exists. This is so cool. S tier. Another personal bias here. I don't like too much going on in my propaganda. The same way that F tier poster had too little, this has way too much going on in multiple images to want to make me discern it all. It's a too long didn't read version of propaganda. Digging into it is actually a really neat representation, not only of the horrors that came from colonialism, especially from the perspective of the Africans during that time period, but it does so by uniquely showing each colonizer in their own unique fashions of immoral behavior. Props for quality, knocks for quantity, C tier. This is so funny. You know why? This is a horrible piece of propaganda, and I absolutely believe that the only reason this is a top post on the Reddit forum for propaganda is because this is a position that Reddit users would absolutely take, which means the propaganda subreddit used a horrible piece of propaganda to promote their own beliefs, like propaganda. It's pinnacle Reddit. Still trash propaganda. D tier. edgy, and it trashes the FDA. I'm here for it. Also, props to the subreddit for including this, since it's not a typical form of propaganda, but still technically falls under the definition of propaganda. B tier. Anti-capitalist Soviet-era propaganda is so cool, because when you read it, it often reads like a modern-day left-wing propaganda cartoon, until you see it's from the 1950s. It's unabashedly ideological to the point where it transcends history. Soviet propaganda rocks. A tier. This does something similar to the last piece, in which it shares ideas that could easily be filtered into a modern context. But rather than intensely persistent ideology, it's anti-vaxxers, which makes it much less interesting. It's cool to see ideas persist, but the piece itself is only interesting because of that. Anti-vax stuff also just doesn't even pique my interest, and that's despite the fact I love controversial ideas and heated debates. C tier, it's fine. This is just beating a dead horse. I don't know, man, it bores me. We get it. F tier. Man, the Soviets were going after the Americans on every front they could, and in such creative ways. They literally invented or popularized the anti-American talking points that are still thrown out today. And they've even taken a massive foothold in America itself. These guys killed the game. There's not much else to it. A tier. Honestly, a really creative art piece. It's both recognizably British and recognizably swastika, with a simple message. It struck me that it was from 2002. In a way that makes it less interesting to me, but still, I like it a lot. It's really creative. B tier, great art, weak message. This isn't propaganda. It's a personal conduct policy depicted with a cartoon. F tier. I don't know, man. This is just a big Reagan smear campaign advertisement. There's so much here, and yet I didn't read it because I know what it says. Reagan bad. I get it. D tier. It's more than the sign, but says about just as much. Provocative. Taboo for the sake of taboo to stick it to censorship. Unoriginal, but done originally. C tier. Bumper sticker. F tier. Oh my gosh, it's so stupid. So, this is actually a repurposed painting that was painted by Norman Rockwell in the 1940s. It was a pro-American interventionist World War II propaganda piece that it's from. Now, using a Norman Rockwell poster to promote net neutrality for free speech in the modern era I simultaneously love it and hate it. I love the usage of propaganda. It works. The man standing and speaking in the crowd, it just works. I just think it's gross to use someone else's art after they've died for this purpose. It provokes heavy feelings and mixed feelings. I want to throw up while also pounding my chest for free speech. B tier, I'm super confused. Historically, this caused a huge uproar because the American meat industry made propaganda that looked like a Hitler Youth poster, as you can see, and a lot of people got upset, and then the people who made it said, "Oh, what a coincidence. Crazy, but we didn't mean to." It's like, dude, just admit you reused propaganda. It's so obviously the same. It's interesting. It's fine, I guess, but it's just two pieces of propaganda that look the same, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's like, fine, C tier. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the propaganda poster tier list. I'm really surprised it's pretty spread out, which really just goes to show how subjective this is. I'm sure nobody has the exact same tier list as me, and that makes this a really cool thing to tier list. It's such a cool topic. Let me know if you agreed with me. Let me know what you think I got wrong or that you disagree with in the comments. Either way, I hope you liked the video. Let me know if there's any other tier lists you'd like to see me do. But until then, thank you for watching, and I look forward to the next video with you guys.